Avocado.
It's been a journey that has changed me as a human being because now I found that in violence and in war there is peace. And that sounds really poetic, and I apologize to anybody that feels like that might sound deep, but it's just the truth. There's a peace that comes from knowing that all that is chaotic around you can be contained within yourself. And that's what MMA gives me.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to the Young God, a podcast for gods. I'm your host Rodney Oche, and my guest today is literally dripping, oozing with that God energy. At first, his resume reads like one we've all seen before. Software developer, content creator, those are all run-of-the-mill occupations. But then, it starts to get interesting. He's also a mixed martial artist. That's just a fancy way of saying he's a fighter, as in, not only can he throw a punch, he can take one too. This brother is a bad boy. He's also a friend, and this would be his second time on the show. His first time was all the way back in, say, season 1, May last year, I believe. He was one of the first guests to accept my invitation. And get this, at the time, he was a full-time software developer who paid the bills building software for the federal government of Nigeria. He was also a YouTuber covering the Nigerian gaming scene. A year later, a mere 12 months later, he has become a lethal MMA fighter, about to quit his job with the government and take on the fighting scene, man. When we talk about personal growth and how a lot can change in 12 months, this guy is a living example, and I can't wait to share his most fascinating story and state of mind with you. This is about a guy who went from being a software developer to a full-fledged fighter. Like he went from a nerd to a movie star in 12 months. His name is Oche Edache, aka Young Jollof. Remember the name because this brother is cooking. Our conversation was basically about how fighting changed his life, made him a better person. He broke down the details of what it feels like to be in a ring, facing another human being with the intent to damage and destroy. He talked about the artistry behind the moves, the mentality and the mastery. He talked about the motions he went through after being thoroughly beaten by another man. Really and truly, his passion for fighting is inspiring. It just goes to show that you don't always have a passion for something before you start doing it. You don't need to have strong feelings about it or be on some kind of mission from day one. Sometimes the things you fall into by chance turn out to be the most important ones of all. As long as you go into it with a tiny bit of curiosity, you're all set. There's a lot we can learn from Oche with regards to applying oneself and the sense of fulfillment and confidence that comes with, doing that. Oh, and one last thing. This episode coincidentally premiered 3 days to his 29th birthday. Talk about the universe speaking to all of us right now. So let me be the first to wish my brother a happy birthday in advance. May your punches always be hard and true. May your pain be champagne. Alright then, let's get a taste of the jollof Oche is serving. It's lit.
Are we live?
We're live.
We're live right now.
We're ready to go.
Giving the people what they want, right?
Oche, thank you for being here.
Yes, Young Jollof.
Young Jollof.
Yes. On Wednesdays you can call me Young Jollof. Just Young Jollof exclusively.
Today's Wednesday.
Today's Wednesday. I had to backtrack myself.
Shit.
What's good, man?
Bro, good to see you.
Yeah. How many guests have you had come on the show 2 times?
2 times. You would be the 4th person. Osaso has come on twice. Jarrell has come on twice. And I think you'd be the 3rd.
So good you had to have him twice, right?
Exactly. So nice you had to have him twice.
Yeah, there's a sexual joke in there somewhere. But, yes. Nobody's questioning your sexuality, Rocky. Don't worry. Nobody's questioning you. But yeah, man, it's good to be back. Second time. First time I felt like I was in a good place, but I was in a different place from where I am now.
Definitely.
Yeah, now I'm in a different place, and it feels good to be able to give back to the people. So yeah,
you give back to what people.
Yeah, I mean the people, man, the people that made me this way. Community, wherever, I don't know, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, I mean, definitely a lot has changed since last time we did this. Last time we talked, Avengers Endgame came out.
Wow.
Yeah. Season finale of Game of Thrones.
Wow. That is a shit ton of time, man.
And a lot has happened since then.
I can curse on your podcast, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because we can't curse on combat culture, and so it feels good to be able to curse on another podcast. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's also the co-host of the
Combat Culture Africa.
Yes.
It is Nigeria and Africa's foremost MMA podcast and journalistic news platform. We do everything. We create content, we train, we fight, we go for events. I was punched in the face and my jaw was displaced last week Tuesday. So what are you waiting for? Come, join us. We're every weekend we're posting new stuff. Rodney has even been on our show as well. So yeah.
Yes, I have. Great group of guys and
Lady, blessing our manager.
Yes, and Lady. So man, you're a programmer by day, and you've always been that. You're also a content creator.
Yeah, I'm a content creator.
A gamer, and in less than 9 months, you're now training to fight in fucking Thailand.
Yeah, I'm
in the MMA.
In the MMA community.
How did that even
But I swear, it feels strange, talking about it with just hearing somebody refer to me in that light. But yeah, what it was that as about 9 months ago, I had a YouTube channel, The Nigerian Nerd. I plugged that in the last time I was here. I had my job. I'm a software developer from 9 to 5. I build web applications and software that is used by the federal government of Nigeria. And to everybody apart from myself, there should have been a feeling of satisfaction. But I am something of an obsessive personality. Nothing is ever enough, including myself. I'm never satisfied with anything. So I've been eyeing MMA for a while. The reason why I initially wanted to try MMA was from a place of insecurity. In other words, what if something happens to myself or the people that I love and I need to defend them, I need to protect them, I need to defend myself? What do I do? Never been in fights my entire life, and I was a skinny, lanky guy. Why don't I do something about that? So I started going to the gym about 3 years ago, got buff, got a lot, I just built, I had a really nicely defined body. But it felt like it was nothing to me because with all this body that you have, what can you do with it? Well, apart from pick girls up. But it was that you need to be able to implement this into something else. And I was like, okay, so you're physically fit now. MMA requires a shit ton of fitness. Why do you go into that? So spoke with Mayo, who last year went from being my friend to my brother, and he's best friends with my brother. So my brother eventually became one of my best friends. We had a really nice circle between us. So
romance.
Yeah, it's a beautiful. If you see the three of us together, it's poetry in motion.
No, yeah, I'm a witness.
Yeah. I love both of them. So I told Mayo, look, I think I want to start fighting. And I was like, for real? It's like, yeah, because Mayo is an ex-fighter, and he's like, okay, I'll train you. So we started training, and I started doing boxing. I was boxing solely for the first 4 months. And I started like everybody else. Clueless, didn't know how to throw a punch, didn't know how to defend a punch, didn't know how to move around. And after 3 months or so, because of how obsessive I am with everything, it was all I could dream about. I was watching old fights from Muhammad Ali, Thomas Hearns, Joe Frazier, anybody that I felt I could learn something from, the old fights. Then I started watching all the Roy Joneses of our time, to Floyd Mayweather, to Canelo Alvarez, and I got really obsessed and entwined in that world. And there was a lot of growth by other people's admission. Things improved. I improved to the point where I started sparring with people. Yeah, I was getting hit, which is another thing with regards to combat, because while you're trying to inflict damage will inevitably be inflicted upon you as well. Sure. And that used to worry me, what if they punch me in the face? What am I going to do? All that stuff. But it's been a beautiful experience. I've had injuries. My shoulder popped out when I was wrestling. my knee right now feels a little weird when I bend it because I was doing a lot of flexibility stuff in jiu-jitsu. My jaw was punched, like I got punched pretty hard. That's even on my Instagram right now. It's the last video I posted. But like, it's been a journey that has changed me as a human being because now I found that in violence and in war there is peace. And that sounds really poetic, and I apologize to anybody that feels like that might sound deep, but it's just the truth. There's a peace that comes from knowing that all that is chaotic around you can be contained within yourself. And that's what MMA gives me. So as it stands now, I'm training with my trainers, Mayo, Icebox, Okunu, shout outs to him. I love him to death. Chidi, B-Boy the Mill, Nwankwo, that's my assistant coach as well. Love him like a brother. And they've both been grooming me. And there's a guy in town, in the country right now from Malaysia. His name is Andrew Osaho. Andrew is teaching, this has been my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coach as well. And we've made a lot of progress. So all this training is because I want to go to Thailand in November. I'll go there for a 6-week training camp with Mayo and Chidi. And at the end of those 6 weeks, I'm going to have my first amateur fight. All of this is building somewhere, not necessarily towards being a fighter full time, although I'm going to fight several times over the next couple of years. But there is a bubble and an opportunity that can be explored and enjoyed by Africans, not Nigerians, Africans, with regards to mixed martial arts. And it's going to be massive. People's lives are going to change. People are going to become millionaires. Their lives will never be the same. People that were carrying cement up and down, doing in construction sites will become professional fighters and will be traveling around the world. And that bubble is going to burst sometime between the end of 2020 and the end of 2021. It's going to be a 12-month window. And
Yeah, I feel like everything you've said now, especially with the journey, I can relate so much because on my end, as someone who somehow just stumbled into podcasting, and then 9 months later, I was inspired to like start a podcast network where I feel like I want to curate culturally relevant shows that would help grow the podcasting, culture
scene here, right?
in Abuja, Nigeria. And I think one of the best ways to do that is to create the kind of shows that speak to the Nigerian experience, the African experience. Every time Joe Rogan and Gary Vee and all those guys are, their audience.
They are relevant, but they are relevant to a different audience.
So I think there's a gap here for like really interesting shows that relate to the Nigerian experience. Like we have this idea for an NYC show. Yeah, we have this idea for an Uber drivers show. You get that kind of thing. So many little different things we're trying to put together, and I feel like the same way you guys are trying to push MMA culture here, we're trying to push podcasting culture, and somehow we're here and they're like intertwining. I think that's
I don't think it's coincidental. I don't think anything is coincidental. And it's the thing about all of this, right, is you are uniquely positioned to do something that nobody else is doing. Imagine if the Stars, the Heinekens, the UBAs, the GTBs of the world being Nigeria, discover that, there are guys that sit down in their living rooms, talk about shit that they are interested in, and they reach, on average, they reach maybe 50,000 people on a bad day. And they're like, wow, that's a market that we have not explored in any way. Just imagine that you get the reputation that you are seeking maybe in the next 4 months or whatever. And somebody comes and meets you and like, this guy is doing shit. Let's put him on a billboard somewhere. Let's do automatically it stops being that podcasting thing is for nerds or people that don't have girlfriends. Like we put our responsibility to like, wow, what is this guy doing that is. And that's what everybody is not aware of. There's a tipping point, and it's gradually getting there. People are getting woke enough to just realize that there's something above, just beyond the horizon where I can tap into. Podcasting is one such thing. I strongly believe mixed martial arts and combat sports is another such thing, especially with the success of Nigerians and Africans in that sphere.
For a while, I wasn't even sold on it. Like when MMA just started coming out and UFC, I was just like, fighting is not really my thing. But then what you start to realize by the time you like look deep and close is that these guys aren't just like Agboros who just be throwing punches and be, there's actually like sense
There is.
and skill and like
There
all
is.
kinds of levels to this stuff. And,
Brother, there is.
like it's an art to fighting. Who knew?
Yeah,
Do you
there is.
get?
That's why it's called martial arts. It's the art of combat. It's the art of war. It's the art of inflicting damage. In the application of that art, brutal and violent things are done. But you cannot deny that there is an artistry to the way it's performed.
Yeah.
If you look at Israel Adesanya, the way he fights, Israel paints a picture. He paints a portrait on the faces and bodies of his opponents. A very beautiful, visceral, and disturbing picture. If you cannot appreciate the beauty behind it, to be disturbing to you, but it's a picture nonetheless. And the application of that art, the way it's done, the subtle movements, it's something that once you cross over and you start to see it, you can't unsee it. You don't look at a fight. I can't watch action movies anymore, choreographed action movies. I watch John Wick because John Wick actually puts effort into actually applying. But when you talk about the clean martial arts where it's a punch, a kick, a is jumping, they're flying, they're doing. I can't watch those anymore because it's fairy tale.
Now
It's
you know the
yes,
truth
I
of
know
how
the
much
truth.
fighting entails.
Real violence applied by somebody who is educated in the art of violence is beautiful.
Yeah.
And I know that that's hard to swallow. And somebody who hears that without understanding the context will be like, "What the hell? This guy's so disturbed." But it's. I can watch an arm get popped now, as in somebody's shoulder. I can see someone in an arm bar, and the arm would pop out. There was a very popular video last week. Somebody's arm actually popped, like it looked like spaghetti when it was done. But when I was watching that, I saw that the arm got popped, but that didn't register to me. What registered to me was the technique of the person that popped the arm. The leverage that the guy had on his forearm, the way he held on, and the person was seriously trying. The guy whose arm got popped, what even made me notice him was his resilience, because he would rather accept his arm being broken than admit defeat. Yeah. And in my mind, that is the heart of a warrior. Like, why you would rather see yourself suffer damage that would last you 6 to 9 months than look another man in the eye and say you beat me, or tap and tell the referee to come and save you. If that doesn't tell you something about that person's spirit, that person's soul, their ideals as a human being, I don't know what does. So it transcends the physical. Like that's what it is.
I mean, I saw one of your posts on Instagram. I think it's the Combat Culture Instagram page. You guys should definitely go check it out. They have amazing content. And I was looking at the one of John Jones and the way you broke down
that was me actually. Yeah, that was
and
me.
I was like, it was really fascinating. Just seeing, okay, so this guy is actually like,
he's a god. He's a young god. He's 31. He's a young god in that sphere.
In that sphere, yeah.
When people talk about the greatest of all time, who is the GOAT, you cannot have that conversation without John Jones. There are other people in that conversation, but his name, his place is etched forever. And it's just because of what he does. What he did in the time. Bro, it's beautiful, man. Like, as in, I can't talk about it without...
Who do you mirror your fighting style?
Well, I really love Israel. Like, I love Israel.
Yeah.
Fun fact, like, the plan for me is to go to New Zealand next year, and I want to go train in New Zealand for a bit. And I want to train because I want to go to New Zealand specifically because Israel is there. It's the entire gym, everyone's there. And I want to go train with them. I love Israel striking. Israel moves like he moves like it's a dance. He's a dancer actually. Dancers are natural born fighters. But he the way he applies it, it's just beautiful. Then when it comes to wrestling and jiu-jitsu and moving on the ground, it's actually Mayo that I mirror the most. Mayo, when you're rolling with somebody, jiu-jitsu, they don't call jiu-jitsu sparring. When you're training with someone, you don't spar in jiu-jitsu, you roll. Because you guys are going to be on the ground majority of the time. When you're rolling with Mario, it's like you're rolling with water. You know how you put your hand inside water and then it just absorbs your hand? That's what Mario does. He literally, you feel like you are fighting yourself. Every move, every position you take is being used against you. But it's not with force. It's like, oh, you're giving me this, okay, I'm giving you this. And that's how it feels. So Mario is who I mirror.
So that he uses your energy against you.
Exactly.
Your momentum against you.
It's like water, literally.
Yeah.
Then, most of my influences are the people that train me. Chidi is another specimen entirely, because Chidi, when you're fighting Chidi, feels like you're dancing. I'm starting salsa classes in 2 weeks, and I'm going to be doing contemporary dance as well. I have someone like I concluded. Her name is Stephanie. We're starting training. We're starting our classes in 2 weeks. The only reason we can't start this week is because I'm swimming at the moment, and because the guy teaching me jiu-jitsu said swimming would help my hand-eye coordination. But Stephanie, like I told her, I need to be able to move. Because when I first started training with Chidi would tell me, punch me. Like, I was still learning back then. Right now, he wouldn't tell me to punch him because like a lot has changed. But back then, he would tell me, punch me. And I would throw the punch, and Chidi would just slip it. Each movement just felt like he was dancing. And when you watch him fight, that's what it looks like. He's literally dancing with you. Dancing with you, kicking your leg, punching your face, moving. You throw a punch, it stops right in front of him. He's coming back with his. It's unconventional, but it's beautiful. And now, when he sees me train, he sends me pictures, like he sends me messages like he's never seen anybody fight like him. But since he started seeing me fight, I fight like him. So that's that. So you can't really point at one person. Like, you just mix and match, and then they all come to you. Then you, as a human being, now have your unique style that you apply to everything, and you become who you are. So
no, man, I love stories like this, man. I love like growth. Like, I love, you know what, this yo, bro. Like, when I first met you, you bust my brain. You know. Funny enough,
I'm laughing because I remember, like, I know who you saw when you saw me back then.
I remember, it was a different mindset, and in a short space of time, people think like a year is so short now, because I can't remember you as the programmer who
I'm not the same person.
creating software for the government. You know what I'm saying?
I'm still doing that, but I hate it.
Now,
I'm only doing it because I need to pay my bills.
Yeah, and now you found something that like actually
absorbs me. If I could live the ideal life, it would be one in which I fought and one in which I create content. And then one in which I was involved in the world of fighting, because I don't see myself fighting for very long. I'm 28 right now. The average fighter peaks at 35. There's a lot I could learn in the next 2 years that I could apply into, which I will, because I'm going to have a number of amateur fights. But for me, it is that this world has so much to offer. There's a post on my Instagram, right? It details my first encounter with defeat. I met this guy. Shout out to Farid. Farid is
I was actually going to get to that part.
Farid.
I saw that post. How this guy gave you the fear of God.
He gave me. I felt real fear. I'd never been beaten. I'm at the expense of sounding proud. I'm used to being a winner. I'm used to being at the top of my class. But I met somebody who, despite all my training, running, doing everything I can do, technique work, boxing, whatever, I stepped into the ring with this guy. And something you feel when you fight is, if you're fighting somebody who has pressure, who's good at what they're doing, the ring feels small. All you see is the person in front of you. You don't see a human being. You just see a presence. And I experienced that first with Chidi. I told him this, and he started laughing. He said, "Yeah, it happens when somebody has." So I stepped into the ring with him, and I've trained with him a number of times. But this was the first day. I was like, I've been doing this 7 months now, man. Let me train. I told him, go all out. Let's go all out. Punch me as hard as you can. I'll do the same. Let's actually go all out. And he started moving, and I was so overwhelmed. Like, I got punched more times in the brief 3 minutes that we sparred. I got punched more times in those 3 minutes I've been punched in my entire life. Even when I see the punches coming, I try to defend. He knows I'm about to defend it, and he does. So we had like a very intense round. When it was done, people came and met me, and they were like, "Oh, like, you did a good job. You did this." But I felt defeated. In that same session, my coach was screaming at me, "Punch and move, punch once, move, then punch twice." I was hearing what he was saying. I knew the logic, but my body couldn't move. And later, when I went home, I realized I was fear. I was like, I've met somebody who is a literal god at this. All I can do is bend down and worship. I'm not going to resist this. And it affected me deeply. I couldn't train that week. I would randomly be sitting down and I would just start crying. And the cries, because it was deep. He took something of my soul with him that day. And he's such a nice guy. Immediately after it was done, he came and hugged me and he was like, "Guy, man, you did such a good job. You did this, you did that." But he took from me, and that's what fighting is. It's an agreement that me and you are going to expose our wills to one another, and whoever is the better man on this day takes from the other.
Yeah.
The victor, even no matter how the victor praises the loser, he never gets any. The loser never gets any validation from that. You get better by losing, but something is taken from you. And I felt that, like I felt that defeat, I felt that helplessness. And I considered quitting. I was like, I don't think I'm good enough for this. I'm not cut out for this. My body was paining me. I couldn't sleep for days. I was in pain. And
you know what this reminds me of?
Yeah,
it reminds me of that babe.
Okay.
Linda Rousey.
Ronda Rousey. Yeah.
She got beat the fuck up by some babe and she never fought again.
Yes, Holly Holm. And that's what it is.
Shit. It's and she was at the top of her game before then.
Yeah, that's what it is, bro. That's what fighting is. Each time you see those guys, whenever you have the chance, anybody listening to this, right? Don't watch the fighters on fight night. Like after the fight goes up, go and watch what they are like after, like what the back behind the scenes stuff. They are a nervous mess. They are walking around. They are screaming at the top of their lungs because there's so much pressure. There's so much fear. There's so much anxiety. And I experienced a fraction of that after getting beaten by this guy. And I didn't tell anyone. I couldn't sleep, couldn't do anything. I wasn't eating right. I wasn't training anymore. And I just spoke with Mayo about it. I just started laughing. And he said, even when he became pro, that feeling never left. Each time you step in, you're proving not to your opponents, not to your coaches, you're proving to yourself that this feeling of fear, you have the will to overcome it. Even when you are professional, it never leaves you. And it's like, guy, just go back in. And when we had that conversation, I started drafting my strategy. I said, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to fight with my left hand as my power hand. I need to do this. I'm going to do a lot more movement. And the next time we stepped in the ring, it was a different story. I was still feeling that pressure, that fear. Yeah, me and Farid. I was still feeling that pressure, that fear. But once the cage closed, and I was like, guy, you've made it this far. Look at the person in front of you. Let's go. And we danced. It was a literal exchange of ideas in that ring. And it was beautiful. And now, all of a sudden, training with Farid is no longer scary. The next challenge is what I am. He's now somebody that I am okay with taking a punch from. The next following day, was sending messages like, guys, his entire body is paining him. That was an amazing spar. And man, I can't go into all the intricacies of what this thing does to you as a human being, but what it does is that it just, like, you would literally be exchanging punches with someone. Every bit of anger and rage and any diabolical sense you have in you to cause damage to another human being, you're applying it at that point. Like, okay, if I raise my hand, I can block his eyes, I can punch his tummy. When he's down, I can punch him on the side, and that'll send him to the floor. You're thinking all these things. But the moment that bell goes off, the switch goes off, you hug the person, both of you are in an embrace, and you're just, if you are not strong, you could even start crying at that point because you've exchanged something that you can't explain to another human being.
You need to be in the ring to understand.
Brother, you can't. Some people see fighting, they don't know fighting. It's different.
In the ring.
So for me now, the way I look at them, it's different. Like this world, I want to be a part of this world. I feel like there's a connection with anybody that I know that trains in one way or another. It's something else, and that's the world. Like God willing, I won't be at my job after this year. God willing, I intend to do a lot of traveling. I intend to be fully engrossed in this community, in this mindset, in this. Another thing is that when you train hard, it makes everything else easier. When you fight, your job feels easier. Being uncomfortable just feels like second nature. Your body, your mind becomes accustomed to the fact that I had to go 3 rounds with somebody, and with somebody who was trying to take my head off. Is he sitting down with you and typing code or looking at my boss, give me instructions I don't want to that'll bother me?
Like what's awkward moment again? No such thing. Like you've broken through a barrier.
Yeah, everything. Yeah. Even your confidence as a human being, like your sexual energy, your capacity as an individual. People see you. One of the first things you start hearing when you start training activities, people tell you, you walk differently. And Maya told me, mark my words, when we get past where we're getting to, a lot of people will tell you walk differently. And in 2 months, I came and met him, I was like, Maya, it happened today. People were asking me that my walk is different. It's the energy, everything. You're so aligned with who you are. You're so focused. You're so.
Let me bust your head.
Yeah.
The Oche that I knew when we first started getting acquainted, like what your social media posts were like, and now
it's a different thing.
It's a different thing. Like now you're more vulnerable. You're like this. Like you're telling like stories. Like you have a life to draw from now. Do you get I don't think people understand like what it means to apply yourself. Like
Yeah.
like what you do literally like becomes you. Like it makes you. You know what you try to create creates you, and it's like I'm just glad that I'm witnessing it. You know, and I'm able to see like draw parallels between your journey and mine, and even Mayo's, and like just like Body Rocks. Like you can just see like there's so many little things going on. Like Body Rocks was like just a fucking place where
people go to work out,
go to lose weight, and now people are going there to learn how to fucking kick ass.
Yeah. And you see another thing, man. It's women. I have so much more appreciation for women now, because women are a lot more the killer instinct that is required to hurt another human being. Women are way more willing to tap into it and draw from it than men are. And get this, it's needed. You need to be able to draw from that killer instinct. In fact, you train yourself to stop looking at your opponent as a human being. The person is a victim that you need to apply damage to. That is what it is. But women are way quicker to turn that switch off. On top of that, I now found out that women because women are not as muscular as men. Their limbs and their muscles don't generate as much lactic acid, which is what makes you get fatigued and tired after long bouts of physical activity. Yeah. So when you see a woman that has applied herself to this thing, they are literal killers. Like the way they move, they absorb it. It is who they are. It's so, man, brother.
Like it makes sense, and that's why women are slept on. And I always feel like if women are allowed to thrive in certain like scenarios, man, we'll see some actually like beautiful stuff.
If you can separate.
That's why Kobe was so much into women's game of basketball. Like he had seen that, and only Kobe, like someone can like see that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Somebody who has reached the peak of that field or that expertise, he has seen that this particular gender, they're doing it right.
And they can do it better under
under the right circumstances.
Speaking of Kobe, funny thing is, the day we talked about getting this podcast done was the day he passed.
He died. Yeah.
That's
we spoke about that was a Sunday.
That was very day.
That was the Cibola thing. Yeah.
So the night that evening, as I was going back home, I looked at my phone and
that was the same day I got it. Yeah. Kobe's death, yeah. Kobe's death, like there's some people you can imagine dying. I can say this, right? Like I can imagine certain people in my life, father figures, uncles, aunties. I imagine a time where I'm going to get old, this person is going to pass away, and I'll have to deal with their death. Yeah. But then some people, some celebrities especially, transcend death in your mind. Yeah. It's like you never imagine that this person can die.
Let alone by a copter crash.
Thank you. Something as like you said that this guy in a blaze of glory, he's in the sky, but not that something like that, like a car crash, a helicopter crash, something random, like why?
Something an everyday thing he's been doing. Yeah, that really like
it's like Michael Jordan. Every time I see Michael Jordan, he looks older.
Yeah.
But I cannot imagine Michael Jordan dying.
Yeah.
I just can't, just because of what he embodies.
Yeah.
But a death like Kobe's it just humanizes the entire thing and just reminds you that everybody.
One of the things that I took exception to when he died was how everyone was like, it's a reminder to like every day is nothing's promised. Tell your loved ones you love them, or mend relationships. And I was like, what? First of all, you do not need Kobe to die to remember. Like that should be your
day to day,
your default setting at this stage in life, especially if you're like 25 and older. Like you've lived enough and seen enough to know that nothing is promised. So whenever I saw that, I was like, you're not ready. But then what I took from it was, just when you look at his life now in retrospect, and everything he did, and everything he went through, and how he was it seemed like the second chapter of his life was about to be better than you know what I mean? And his basketball career was legendary,
unmatched.
To think that he was going to be able to
top
that, and then he now died. I think that really like what that made me do was like, man, whatever you're doing, man, just go harder. Like you're doing stuff, but just go harder, man. Like,
you've taken the word right out of my mouth. Just do and be your best, really.
Be your best. And
the Black Mamba, man, the Mamba mentality,
bro.
You have that's literally it right there. Go hard, go hard. No excuses. No, go hard. No, not defeat is not an option.
And there's this thing that he said. He said one time that he said 1 + 1 = 1 billion. Have you heard that?
No, I haven't heard that. Man.
Yeah, basically it means that whatever you do, go for everything. Like don't prioritize one thing over the other. These days people are either like, oh, I want to focus on my career, I don't have time for relationships, or vice versa. And like
to say
that
that
you can't be everything and do everything,
you
right?
can be dope at your job and dope at your your relationships and stuff like that. I mean, and it just makes sense because we try to compartmentalize, and like we put maybe our career goals higher than relationships. Meanwhile, when you really think about
You
it,
can have it all,
you
right?
can have it all, and even at that, relationships, if anything, are more important than any career goals. Because you find people who have it all, and then they be like,
I'm still lonely as fuck and I want
but
to kill
then
myself.
and you're killing yourself. Meanwhile, the goal is to have that and then have a family to enjoy that with.
I have a lot to learn in that regard because in the pursuit of all of this, I have personal relationships have taken a back burner for me. I mean, you have personal experience with this with regards to people that were in my life, but like I don't really think much about personal relationships because I'm so focused and I'm so engrossed in this lifestyle right now that I don't want to do anything else. Like I don't want to spend time thinking about people's feelings or I'm literally just about the grind that is required to be good at this. Not even great, just good at this. So I think that's a lesson that I was talking with someone, actually my ex-girlfriend. We spoke about this once and she was telling me how Elon Musk, she feels Elon Musk, as great as he is, could be greater. And I said, oh, why would you say that? And she said, because Elon has damaged his personal life and his personal relationships in pursuit of his legacy, his goals, his companies, and that someone who is truly great would be able to do all.
Yeah.
And looking back on it now, I remember listening to her back then. I was like, I see what you're saying, but maybe you're a bit idealistic. But now, I feel like that's actually the mark. Because look at our fathers, for instance.
Yeah.
Those of us who have fathers that we respect, that we look up to. It's like they still seem to be in the picture and with the family, despite providing for you, buying all the things that you wanted and needed, and got you there.
Yeah.
So like, what's your excuse? Are you greater? I think you're dealing with more than you were dealing with back then.
Exactly. Do you get? I feel like the goal is just to be a well-rounded and well-balanced person, and not like have one thing take too much precedence. I think like now these days when I hear someone say, "Oh, right now I don't have time for relationships. I'm focusing on my goals." I'm like, what? Like, what? Like it just sounds alien to me now. Like the goal is to be able to develop yourself so that you have the mental capacity to deal. To be strong, to be good at everything. And when I look at Kobe, how after after the his third championship, and then during the period when he was dealing with the sexual assault allegations, and then at that time he was like maturing into like an adult. He was like in his late 20s, early 30s. He now began to like take like more like greater care of his family. He figured out, there's one documentary was like when he was younger, he was like dedicating everything to himself to be the best he could be. But as he grew older, he found out that that is not really it. Like it's still a means to an end, a greater goal. Do you get what I'm saying?
The survival of the units equals the survival of everyone. Like, but if only I survive, then the unit suffers, and that makes sense.
So I feel like that's one lesson I took, and I'm gonna try and.
Fucking life, man. Fucking life, man. Fucking learning every single day. Every single day.
Man. So that's my challenge to you, man.
Yeah, man.
As much as you're so committed to being the best fighter you can be, I feel like all the lessons and things you've learned, like I feel like you have a greater range of emotional intelligence now.
Yeah. Of course.
So imagine you apply that to other places, other aspects of your life that.
Next relationship will be fucking amazing. Like whenever that comes, because there's so much inside of me now, especially because I don't do New Year resolutions. I don't like New Year resolutions, but one of the things that I resolved to do this year was to be vulnerable. Actually, and that was an intentional decision. Just be vulnerable with the people that I truly trust, and to not be afraid or ashamed of it. So that's why you see the social media posts with all those stories that touch. It's not for if it's not for emotional points, it's not for anything or political points. It's because it's an intentional decision to be truly vulnerable with people, to realize that even if you're trying to do something that hasn't been done, something extraordinary, you are still feeling very human emotions as a result of them. And
the best thing is that not only are you like gaining that like release and whatever personal gain you get from that, but the numbers are going up.
Yeah.
Like that shit actually resonates with people.
Yeah, yeah.
More than anything.
Because it's real.
You don't. Yeah, exactly.
It's real.
So like that lets you know that is the fucking essence of life and living. To put yourself out there, do stuff, and share your lessons. You get. And I like something that you said,
which is
like basically the theme of this entire conversation. And I'll read it so I don't get it wrong.
Interesting. These are my words you're about to read.
Yes, your words. For rice to become jollof, it must first be cooked. Bro!
I forgot I wrote that.
That is sensei. Sensei jollof.
Somebody actually told me I should put that on the t-shirt, actually.
Yes. That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Like that makes the whole, like that even gives the whole Young Jollof thing, like even greater.
That name is not just a cool sounding name. That name means a lot to me. That name signifies my transformation, my growth, my evolution, my vulnerability.
Cooking,
I'm constantly cooking, man. I need to remain hot. Because jollof can't get cold. It can't get cold. It can't. And yeah, man, it's like there's I'm happy. Like I'm happy. I'm not happy in the sense that I'm always happy. I'm just happy with where I am right now. I embrace the sadness, I embrace the vulnerability, I embrace the weakness, I embrace the self-doubt, I embrace the growth, the joy, the happiness, I embrace the pain of the grind, everything.
Not the fucking pain of getting hit, man.
Yeah.
I don't know how you got used to that. I'm like...
Anyone can. That's another thing. Anybody can get hit. The moral of the story is when you get hit, what happens? Do you look away or do you look forward?
Yeah.
The fighter looks forward. The person who is not ready to fight looks away, and you get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And that is not just some cool sounding sound bites. That is the actual truth of fighting. Every time you see Floyd Mayweather take a punch and he's still focused, he's in pain. When you get punched in the eye, or you get punched on your temple, or you get punched around your ear or your jaw, and you see how much that hurts. But the moment, and fighters are predators, they smell fear. So the moment you get punched and the person turns, you're like, oh, I heard him. It's like if you're watching UFC commentary, you hear Joe Rogan screaming, oh, he's hurt. Everybody smells that blood. The sharks start to circle, like, oh, let's eat this fucking guy right now. But what do you do if you're a predator as well? It's predator versus predator. It's two lions trying to determine who is going to be the king of the pride at this very moment. Are you going to take a punch and look? You're going to take a punch and look at him and be like, nigga, is that all you have? Is that all? These internal struggles are what make fighting so beautiful. Every single time now, when you see somebody punched, don't just see them and look at this guy is strong. No, the guy no strong. The guy is feeling that vulnerability, he's feeling that pain. At that point in time, he's thinking, why the fuck am I here? There are people that cry before they go. Professional fighters that throw up every single time. And like, yet they look forward. And if that isn't something you can use to help your life, I don't know what is. Because that's what life is. Like when Rocky was saying, it's not about how much you can get hit. It's about how much you can get hit and keep moving forward. Yeah. Because you have to keep moving forward.
You have to.
I'm a better human being now. I know that for a fact. I'm more emotionally intelligent. I'm more empathetic. I'm stronger. But at the same time, I don't really care. I can cry. I can talk to people about weakness. I can be vulnerable. I can be weak. I can be emotional. But that's just all part of the humanity struggle at the end of the day. It just helps you embrace everything better. So that's it, man.
Well said, man.
Yeah,
Oche, this has been a very, very fascinating conversation. I've been looking forward to this. I know you don't hold back when it comes to whenever we talk. So So I mean, man, I'm proud. I can't wait to see. Also, you have a podcast coming. You're trying to
yeah. So right now there is the Nigerian Nerd on YouTube. Please check that out. If you're a nerd, appreciate manga, nerd culture, whatever. Nigerian Nerds on YouTube. Please check that out. Then we have Combat Culture Africa, which delves really deeply into all the MMA stuff that we've talked about now. And then at some point in the second quarter of this year, I've not decided on the date yet, I'm going to have Cocktails and Conversation. No, sorry, Cocktails After Dark with Young Jollof. And it's going to be dealing with stories with interesting people being vulnerable about stuff that they go through in their day-to-day lives. So the young professionals, the creatives. And we're going to have a cocktail. We're going to drink half of a cocktail. And when we're slightly inebriated, we have a complete tell-all conversation about the struggles that you face in your life. So that's coming up in the second quarter of this year. So yeah, anticipate that, man. You heard it here first on the Young God podcast.
The Young God. Man, from one God to another, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it, man.
Pleasure is all mine, man.
Please keep it going. I can't wait to see
Yeah.
you.
You'll see me. You'll see the fight on YouTube. Maybe if we're lucky, we might see it on TV. Maybe if some of the things we're working on, you might see it on your VSTV. But you'll see it on YouTube definitely.
Yes, my man.
Yeah, man.
And
Peace.
Young Jollof.
One and only.